Before we can talk about the Kitsune-Tsukai, we need to take a moment to mention a special class of yokai of old Japan called the Tsukimono, which translates as possessing spirit or simply possessing thing. As the yokai known collectively as the Henge are renowned and feared for their ability to shapeshift, the Tsukimono specialize in the bodily possession of humans, and they're really good at it. Before the 17th century in Japan, yokai had not progressed into the many different varieties we know today. Before this time, they were all creatures more of spirit than substance, and were collectively referred to as mononoke. If you're a fan of the Studio Ghibli films, that name will ring a bell. It was believed that almost any animal spirit could possess a human under the right conditions. A cat spirit possession would be classed as, say, a nekosuke, for example, or possession by a kappa as a kappasuke. It wasn't until the Edo period that the folklore of yokai really evolved and the spirits began to specialize. As I mentioned in previous videos, a lot of that was due to an artist named Toriyama Sekian, who drew many of the pictures of yokai which solidified their nature and appearance in popular culture. Other artists around that time were doing the same thing, and it is then that the Tsukimono arose. In this video, we're going to look not at the possessing creatures themselves, but at a type of human who not only didn't fear them, but sought to exploit them for their own purposes: the Kitsune-Tsukai. This isn't a Tsukimono itself, but rather a human magician who controls them, specifically the fox spirits. Given the possessing spirit's special abilities, it makes sense that humans would develop areas of magic to exploit them. It's also relevant that while Tsukimono were good at possession, they didn't do it on a whim. Usually it was for revenge if you had harmed them in some way or you had something they wanted. Mostly it just didn't happen. That's where the Kitsune-Tsukai comes in. The name translates as fox user, and he, usually it is a he, is a special purpose magician who has one or more fox spirits under his control. In some traditions, this is a breed of small fox-like yokai called pipe foxes, which are more like a cross between a weasel, a cat, and a squirrel. I mean, good luck finding them because they're invisible. But apparently the Kitsune-Tsukai sometimes managed. Regardless, once the would-be Kitsune-Tsukai finds a suitable subject, he gains his minion by a special procedure. So simple I wouldn't call it a ritual, but it supposedly works. I will not elaborate on it here, but if you're really curious, try Google. The knowledge is out there. Once the Kitsune-Tsukai has done everything necessary, a fox spirit will obey his commands. Supposedly it can discover secrets, fetch desired items, cast curses, even prophesy, whatever its master wants. These abilities can be used for good, making a Kitsune-Tsukai a respected member of their community, like the Onmyōji of the imperial court. However, with great power comes great temptation, and it's not hard to find examples of Kitsune-Tsukai who use their abilities simply for their own benefit. For example, a fox spirit can be compelled to find dirt on everyone in the area, making them targets for blackmail. A simpler and easier way to get rich is to use the fox spirit's ability as a Tsukimono. It's a scam and a grift, and it works like this. One day, someone in a village will fall down and start crawling on all fours, make animal noises, or otherwise show clear signs of being possessed. Then, as if by happy providence, a holy-looking priestly type will arrive at the village, take note of the possession, and offer to perform an exorcism. For a handsome fee, of course. Once he's paid, the Kitsune-Tsukai will do some mumbo-jumbo and put on a show of exorcising the creature, which is really accomplished simply by telling this fox minion to knock it off. Everyone's grateful that their neighbor is back to normal, and the Kitsune-Tsukai may even receive extra gifts. Then he's on to the next village where the performance is repeated, and so on. A Kitsune-Tsukai with a good line of patter and a flair for the theatrical can get very rich very fast. Unfortunately for them, this is often their downfall. Here's the thing. Sudden wealth with no apparent explanation was always a red flag, and in old Japan it suggested a supernatural explanation. Worse, the spirit foxes tended to multiply, and there was simply no way to get rid of them once they were attached to you. Despite their name, Spirit foxes needed to eat, and they did. The more foxes you had, the more they ate. In the worst of cases, a Kitsune-Tsukai needed to keep expanding his wealth just to keep up with his fox's appetite, which meant more and more grifting. Rumors travel, even to distant villages. Sooner or later, the scam was going to be exposed. Worse, spirit foxes would become attached to the entire family. They would become known as a witch clan, which no decent family would associate with or marry into. They would be ostracized, if not outright banished, and the source of their wealth revealed far and wide. Power, sure. Wealth, absolutely, at least for a while. But as with the inugami detailed at the end of the next video, the cost was extremely high.